Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to go ahead and get started. This is Inga Hansen, editor of MedEsthetics magazine. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can type them into the question box on the right-hand side of your screen, and at the end of the presentation, we'll be able to answer those for you. And today we're going to be talking about how you can leverage your people, processes, and tools to deliver a world-class patient experience. Our presenter is Corey Oj. He's the National Executive for Crystal Clear Digital Marketing. And Corey specializes in educating aesthetic physicians and their staff on how to grow their businesses through effective digital marketing. Welcome, Corey.
Hey, Inga. It's awesome to be with you guys again today. So looking forward to our time, and thanks to everybody for jumping in on leveraging your practices, people's processes, and tools. Thankful so much to you guys for putting these things on and just to be a part of it. It's been great this past year. So looking forward to today. Now, again, my name is Corey Oj, National Executive of Crystal Clear. I do about anywhere from 20 to 30 national conferences in the medical and aesthetic space, and dental and medical, and practices that range anywhere from plastic surgeons, dermatologists, med spas, and pretty much every hybrid in between in the med spa. And today's topic is really going to be jumping into and really focused on your people, processes, and tools. It's going to feel like kind of like a huddle at the end of the fourth quarter with the Patriots down 2 touchdowns kind of a thing. This is really about your people rather than being a pragmatic on with SEO or Facebook and email marketing. While those things are important, what we know is that the most powerful and most important component of any good marketing strategy is actually you, and that's what we're going to get into. So let's jump right in. Let's do a quick little self-assessment, guys. So before you can improve anything, any aspect of the practice, you got to take a self-assessment, and we really have to be first willing to look objectively at the true state of the union. Now, what's actually happening? What's really going on? This time of year, it's a really good, time to do some assessment in everything, right? Life, goals, finances, family, friends, relationships, business, all of that. And in particular, your marketing. What is it doing? What am I getting back? How much have I invested? What has it gotten me? So we really have to look objectively at these things and take a true self-assessment and get a really good read on all these things. And simultaneously, we have to consider the principle of nothing is good or bad until it is measured and compared. What are we actually getting? Do we have processes in place to actually measuring the things that we're actually executing? Because we like to say crystal clear, and in most business, it's not a unfamiliar term to you. You absolutely cannot manage what you don't measure. So if you're not managing or measuring, there's a problem. And the key is our ability to separate facts from feelings in making good business decisions. I mean, just in life, right? If you think about how it is that we have to make decisions and process information, are we going by primarily feelings or facts? And I can't tell you, even just in the short amount of time that, we've been doing this since 1997, even still, people base all of the decisions on who they're working with as a marketing company, what they're getting, how it looks, all primarily based on feelings. And in this industry, we have got to be married beautifully with data and design. Marketing can no longer be feelings-based or design-based or, kind of going on a whim what feels good. We've got to really drive this down and make sure we have a culture of separating our facts from feelings in our organizations. It's very important. Very important, because there's no marketing strategy on the planet that can replace or overcome a lack of passion or a lack of commitment to growth, because professional results are really based on, your people's performance. It's based on what they actually do. That's the baseline. But there's no marketing strategy on the planet that can replace or overcome lack of passion, limited commitment to growth, professional results-oriented treatments, world-class service, a caring staff, and a well-thought-out consultations, community involvement, and ethical business practices. This right here, this quick little statement, is the baseline for everything. It's about your people. Now, why? Because really, ultimately, success in the modern marketing industry and in the management and sales ecosystem is a function of a series of conversions. And those are the things we're going to be hitting on today. What is conversion? Are we just feeling like conversion's happening, or do we just have this sense that, I know that my team is converting at 100% of the phone calls that we get from the website? I hear that so much, and it drives me insane, because I know just from data that that's actually not the truth. There's no way that your staff is converting at 100% of the phone calls and forms that you get from your website. If you were, you wouldn't need a marketing company, because you could just be a referral-based practice that converts at 100% of the phone. You wouldn't even need it. But that data is not correct, and I kind of chuckle every time I hear that. You know, we've got the best people in the world. We can convert at the highest rate possible. But if you were to really look at your conversion rates on the phone, we know that the national average of conversion on the phone is actually pretty low. It's anywhere from like 8 to 12% tops. So if you get 1,000 leads to your website, how many actually schedule a consultation? If you just converted 10% into an actual scheduled consultation, that's 100 out of those 1,000 web hits into scheduled consultation. So the conversion percent on the phone would technically be 10%. But we've got to really dial in. Like, how many people are actually scheduling and then paying you money? Because the ultimate conversion, which is actually getting paid money, is determined by your people, the processes that you use to move people through the statuses of new opportunity to consult done, to treatment being considered, to them checking in. Once they check in, then it's consult done, treatment being considered. After that, what happens? Do we have a way to chase them? Do we have a way to follow up with them? From beginning to end, all the way from new opportunity that comes into the website, all the way to procedure complete. But the ultimate conversion, meaning who actually pays you money, happens and is driven by your people, processes, and tools. So success in the modern marketing and sales ecosystem requires a blended strategy of all of these things. You can't just put all your eggs in one basket. We say this a lot at Crystal Clear, and we believe this, is that it takes so much more than just a website on an island by itself to convert and retain patients at the highest rate. And if you believe that just your website, you paid some guy, some local guy or a local company to do your website, and you spend anywhere between $3 to $10 grand to build it, depending on how much you spent, what it was, and what was involved, right? But a website by itself does not convert patients at the highest rate. We know this. Paid search. Paid search is another example of something that you could do. But if that's left to an island to itself, if you have that strategy of paid campaigns and you depend on only that, you will be wasting your money, throwing it down the black hole of digital marketing, not necessarily knowing, how many patients did I get from that? Do you have a tool in place to track how much money you made from those ads, and was it worth it? So any one of these things that you see in front of you here today, they're all inextricably should be tied together. They all should work together as a digital marketing ecosystem. It's not either or. It's not one that works more than the other. They all should be blended, and you should have a process for all of these things, because they're all important in today's digital marketing ecosystem. And do you have a very, very clear sales process behind every single one of these things? Because it's not good enough to get people to find you in the first page of organic ranking on Google. Once they get there, where do you traffic them to? How do they sign up with you? How do your people engage with them to move them from a new opportunity or a window shopper on your website to an actual paid consult, a paying patient? That's what matters. So if I was to ask you guys what is the most important component of a successful strategy to increase conversion and per patient revenue retention, what would you say? It's you. That's what we would say. It's actually you, your people, your processes, and the tools that you use to track, manage, and measure conversion everywhere on the digital marketing ecosystem. Now let's take a look at an average practice versus a great practice. Here's a few numbers to consider. So what you see in front of you is an example of two different types of practices that have taken two different types of phone calls and starting to measure some of the results. In the first example, you see that 100 phone calls and forms were taken to this one practice. 40% of those are new opportunities. This practice had a conversion rate of 25%. So new patients that were acquired were 10. They had an average procedural revenue of about $1,000, and again, that'll vary, within practice. So what I want you to really see is just the principle by which we're starting to look at some numbers and some facts, right? So $1,000 is the average procedural revenue that we're calculating in today for this particular example. The monthly revenue with that particular conversion rate would be $10,000. So an annual revenue opportunity of about 120 grand based on those metrics. That's pretty average, right? Not too bad. But if you were to look at a great example with the same amount of numbers, but at different conversion rates. So let's look at this. 100 phone calls came into the practice, forms and phone calls, through the website. 40% new opportunities. 45% conversion rate. New patients that were acquired were 18. And actual procedure revenue about the same exact thing as the previous one, but the monthly revenue increased. So it's $18,000 monthly revenue with an annual revenue opportunity at 216. So you see how your revenue increases just by acquiring 8 more acquisitions because your conversion rate is higher. That is the difference between average versus a great campaign, and ultimately whether you know you have good people on the phone or you just feel it. It is not good enough to go by feelings, because feelings would say, oh yeah, we're doing great, we're doing awesome, and I really feel that our conversion rate is at 100%. Well, show me some data. Do you have tools in place that you know exactly? Because the difference between 25% conversion rate to even 35% conversion rate is a big difference in revenue. So your practice really, if you want to be a rock star and really succeed and grow and scale and build from an average to a great practice, you absolutely should focus on and have an obsessive process around how you track, manage, and measure your conversion rate based on the people that are answering the phone in your practice. Because they're crystal clear, that is all we care about. And that's all we teach. That's all we train. We set up about 30 training videos to train our practices that work with us very closely and partner with us to actually convert and retain on the phone at the highest level, because that's where we know most of your profit will either be won or lost in the modern practice today. So digital marketing isn't just about a nice, cute website and Facebook and social media and email marketing. It's all about how it is that you answer that phone and convert. That's the real conversion. So let's take a look at this, understanding the 5 miracles of lead conversion. Now, of course, your practice has to appear on the first few pages of major search engines such as Google, Yahoo, Bing, in order for the modern medical consumer to be exposed to your value and your value proposition, your expertise, your services, your procedures. For purposes of today, that's what we call miracle number 1. Actually, we'll call it Christmas miracle number 1. It's the first impression. You know, when people come to your website, before they even walk into your front doors, before you even know this person, what is the first impression that they're getting from your digital presence? When they search for you, what are they finding on Google rankings? Do you come up as a paid ad? Do you come up as an organic position on the first page? Hopefully you do. Are good reviews coming up? What is the first impression? Are you not found? Is there no directory cleanup, no map that comes up? So there's a lot of things that will be, you know, that consumer will be basing their first impression on, and they may either do business with you or not. Now remember, these people haven't even walked into your practice yet, your brick and mortar location. So making a first impression, of course, it's so important on a digital marketing platform at the first time that they search for something that pertains to your business. Will they find you? Will they find your services, landing pages, everything that you're offering? That is a miracle that happens, and we've got to be intentional that we have processes in place for that to actually, in fact, happen. Next, in order for the modern medical consumer, which we refer to that as the social patient, in order for them to click on your listing, you must stand out from the multiple options offered by the search engines to the social patient. So if all things go the way you hope, the social patient should click on your listing. Now the question becomes, how do you get there? Crystal clear, we can help you with that. But getting there requires writing so much content. You've got to keep that up every single day. We're going to call this miracle number 2, which is the first conversion. When people actually click on your listing, what do they see? So for example, if one of the terms that you want to optimize for consumers and patients to find you is Kybella or cool sculpting with your particular tag or location listed to it. So we want them to find you for your services and procedures from a search engine standpoint organically. When they click on that ad, what does it actually take them to? Where are they going? What do they see? That's a specific ad. That is a miracle. That's the first conversion. They're connected to you. You can measure that through click rates, and you're going to know how many patients actually came to you in any given trackable period, whether it's monthly or quarterly or whatever. We particularly like to track monthly, but that is the first conversion. They're seeing some kind of a content from you based on a service and procedure that you offer, and it should wow them. Not only should it make a first impression, but they should say, wow, they're credible, they're giving me great content. Hopefully you have a way to automate some kind of a communication to that person if they give you their information, if they take that next step. But for purposes of our steps of conversion, of miracle number 2, This really is the first connection before they walk into your practice. So that has to be stellar, beautifully done. A lot of the clutter should be clear. There should be not too many steps in this process. It's almost like walking into a, into a brand new, fresh building for the first time. The walls are freshly painted. Everything looks beautiful. Everything should be positioned clean, professionally, well done written content on that landing page. Because that's the first impression. Number 3, next, the social patient who has clicked on your listing is directed to a specific landing page on your practice website. So if you're optimizing an SEO search key term for cool sculpting, Providence, Rhode Island, if they click on that ad that they're finding in the Google search listings in one of those organic positions, hopefully number 1, when they click on that, it should take them to a specific landing micropage on the website marketing that particular service uniquely as its own entity, because this is what we call second conversion. And your landing page must be constructed with very clear calls to action. It should have a request form everywhere on your site, not just on your main page, like we've talked about in previous webinars, but everywhere on your before and after galleries. When they're looking at your work, there should be a call to action with a please contact me, give me your information right then and there. If it's on your contact page, it should be clear. Give us your information, take names, emails, what they're interested in so you can reach them. Because this is another Christmas miracle. If this happens, you're in the 3rd stage of conversion. And that is measured in terms of the number of phone calls and emails that are received by your practice. This is what matters, guys. If you're paying any digital marketing company to do any kind of a Facebook or SEO or paid campaigns or your website, the entire purpose of any digital marketing is only measured by how many phone calls and forms you get. That's it. There's nothing else. I mean, if you're doing an email and you don't know how many patients came because of your email and your specials and your promotions, the email is actually pointless. You're actually wasting your people, processes, and tools. You're wasting the time because marketing can no longer be message in a bottle. We hired the web guy to do a website, but we don't know how many patients we got or how many consultations. We don't even really know what's going on. If that's happening, you have a hemorrhage right now. And we've got to start to align your people, processes, and tools in the mind of conversion because something has gone off base. Our mindset, our belief has completely changed and is off track. So we're here to tell you today that ultimately all we care about when we're training our doctors and practices is conversion matters. And what conversion is, at the end of the day, ultimately, from digital conversion, you should be getting forms and phone calls, period. And that's conversion number 3. That's the second conversion. That's miracle number 3. Next, the pendulum swings to the practice. So from digital conversion, which is how many website hits do we get, and then how did that translate into forms and phone calls, now the practice has to actually really engage, right? Because the marketing company's not answering the phone. I can tell you this, though. If I was answering your phones at the practice, you guys would convert at like a 40 to 50% rate. I would sell Botox and Kybella and Juvederm and things like that at the best file level like a freak. I would. And I always joke with my associates that if I sold a tangible product in this stage of my life, it'd be insane. And I would love to do it. But I love what I'm doing as well. But here's the thing. A digital marketing company is not answering the phone for you, so that's why your people on the phone are the most important people in your practice. They're responsible for 80% of your new business profit. Let me just say that again. Those people on the phone at your practice are responsible for 80% of your brand new business profit. So you will either grow and scale and make more money dependent upon the person answering that phone. That is a huge thing to ponder for a second. So then the next question becomes after that statement is, do I really have the right people answering the phone in my practice? What actually happens when that phone gets picked up and someone comes in from the website? Are they, first of all, do they have a good attitude? Are they put on hold for the first 30 seconds? Because if something happens, where a miracle happens, where somebody finds you and then they get a bad phone process, that's just not good, right? I mean, you would never want that in a retail environment. You would never want that to happen in your business. So we want to make sure that we share these things up. So when the pendulum swings now from the marketing company to the actual practice of actually answering the phones, from this point forward, conversion is a function of your people, processes, and tools. And now there's no software in the world that can replace someone who is not properly trained to answer the phone or even respond to a request for an appointment. this is where the process starts to break down. You must have motivated and enthusiastic personnel responding to the social patient center, or to the social patient, because that is where money will be made or not. You know, I hear this all the time, so I do a ton of conferences like I had mentioned, and I had heard this, you know, from one doctor that and I'm not, of course, not going to mention his name, but it's amazing to me how this thinking is still in the industry, that they pay that person on the phone a minimum wage. They get high school kids or college kids because that's, you know, a simple and easy role, no big deal. And it blew my mind. I was like, wow, that's really what the belief is? That role is a minimum wage employee rate, just to kind of throw it in there, and maybe they'll change that staff over like 4 or 5 times in the year because it's replaceable. You know, it's no big deal. That is the biggest deal in your practice, and I can't stress that enough. Because we see this even in digital marketing. This is exactly where the process breaks down. You must have motivated people that are passionate about the phone, that are caring, that smile and dial, that their entire purpose and goal is to make that person feel special, give the best first impression, schedule the consultation, and get it done. So let's call that miracle number 4. That's the third conversion. How we measure this conversion is measured in terms of phone calls and emails that actually turn into consultations set. That is the third conversion, and the most important. Next, in most cases, this becomes the responsibility of the practice manager and or the physician. So this is all about building value in the practice and the practitioner. In other words, booking the treatment or procedure and actually getting paid. Swipe the square machine, you know what I'm saying? That's what it's all about. Because the ultimate conversion isn't just someone going onto your Facebook page and clicking like or leaving a nice heart emoji. That's not conversion. It's a part of the digital marketing engagement, but that is not going to pay you money. Likes, comments, shares, all that cutesy little stuff that everybody is thriving on in our social economy right now is not business. While we can leverage those things to get more patients into the door, there is no possible way that someone is actually going to pay you money or that something amazing happened because someone clicked a little heart above your social media for that post that day. You guys know what I'm saying? You get it. So miracle number 5, the ultimate conversion, this closes the loop on the search to the new patient. Because at the end of the day, your people, processes, and tools should be very clear on how many leads did we get to the website this month. And then from there, they should be very, very clear on how many people did we actually convert into scheduled consultations. So if you had 1,000 hits to your website and you converted 10% of those into actual scheduled consultations, how many of those 100 scheduled consultations can you convert into new paying patients? If you got 100 brand new forms filled out, could you convert at a 20 or 30% of those 100 brand new forms and phone calls? That would be remarkable. That would be great. Just to start at the low base. But the baseline of everything is that you've got to get the right people in place. You've got to have a software and a tool and a process of marketing that ties all these things together and moves these people to the right steps to actually do the ultimate conversion, which is become a paying patient for life. And then you have to keep repeating that process. You have to find new patients, you have to serve your existing database, and you have to keep them for life and wash, rinse, and repeat that process. Now let's look at a bulletproof service and sales presentation. I would ask you guys even that question. When somebody calls your practice, do you actually have a very clear presentation for all of your staff people that are answering the phone? That everybody says the same things, it's a similar culture, the vernacular of everything that's being said is exactly the same, all of the pricing is articulated in the way that it needs to be. You know, a lot of times, the doctors that we work with, the people on the phone don't even get into the pricing until the consult happens inside the practice. And I think that's a good thing, because at that point, with that mindset, the only reason why the person at the practice is going to answer the phone is to really do one thing, actually 2 things. Number 1, have a great attitude, and number 2, schedule the consultation. Because once the consult happens, now the internal office process becomes they're building more value into the patient. They can see the process of what's going on at the business level inside the practice. And the price part is not handled on the phone. It could get skewed because we know that people are shopping online. So if somebody calls your practice and just wants to hear about price, that is the worst thing for the person on the phone to start with. Can you imagine if I just started a sales presentation with you guys right now, and maybe some of you wanted to do business with Crystal Clear, and my first call with you was, yeah, we charge, $5,000 a month. Wait a minute, what's your name again? Oh yeah, right. What's your name? Let me be personal. Let's just not talk about price. So the people on the phone have got to have a very bulletproof service and sales presentation. For every single provider, every single service and procedure they should be educated on just enough to be able to push them to the consultation stage, and that's it. Do you have written answers to most common objections, frequently asked questions? That would be a really good thing, to think out that entire phone process and to manage expectations based on what you want that employee to touch up on the phone and what you don't even want them to touch up on the phone. Because everybody wants to be the expert. You know, nobody wants to say, oh, I don't know, I don't really know the answer to that question right now. So if you don't know the answer to that question, in that position of real-time response, they're mostly going to make up an answer to sound smart. And you don't want that to happen because then you can kind of sound silly. So have a bulletproof service and sales presentation. We like to call it a script. Stick to the script. There are a lot of phone scripts out there that you can actually be trained in. Crystal Clear trains your people in how to answer the phone to convert at the highest level. We have 30 training videos to do that. They're very, very short. That's worked very, very well with our doctors. It'll help you find new patients at a higher level, and it'll also help you retain employees because everybody's on the same exact page. But training should be done with the scripting and having a very clear presentation. You know, as you go, your processes and your communication will change, but always make sure that you're changing and enhancing the presentation based on facts and not feelings. So, for example, I guess what I mean by that is you don't want your people to just react emotionally on the phone. You don't want them to get upset if someone's like, well, you know, I heard about your practice. You know, I heard about, you know, your credibility, and I saw a bad review online. You know, you always want the people on the phone to be trained to just always listen, apologize, solve, and think. That's a small little acronym for making a lasting impression. You always want to make a first impression digitally and first impression in practice, but how even they handle complaints can't be based on feelings. It's got to be based on facts. So if they get that first impression in the first phone call, and all of a sudden they're just like listening to this complaint on the phone, and they haven't even met this patient yet, and they're just going off on their negative presence that they found, negative reviews about your practice, how are they going to handle that? Do you have a very scripted process that's going to wow that negative inquiry or negative prospective patient out of the gate? Because it's either 50-50. You could gain them as a new prospect, or you can lose them right there. So make sure you change your presentation, you make enhancements in real time as you listen to your people on the phone, and make sure that that presentation is always based on facts, not feelings. You know, now the risk is to become too robotic. You don't want to be robotic. You don't want to be just, well, this is how it is. These are the facts. If you want to do business with us, that's it. You know, you don't want to be that. It's always solutions-oriented. It's always emotionally connected in nature. But at the end of the day, results happen because you're giving very good communication. You're articulating your value proposition very, very well on the phone, and there's a very clear process to do that with all of your people. Training and practice is everything. Training and practice is essential to become a world-class aesthetic practice. Don't put it off. If you don't have a training process in place, just start something. You know, maybe on Monday morning you get a little, I don't know, dry erase board, and you got 5 people in your office, and you say, hey, this is how we're going to answer the phone. Number 1, we're going to smile and dial. Number 2, we're going to leave a lasting impression. We're going to listen, apologize, solve, and thank our clients. We're going to do it because this is important to us. Monitor and measure. I would highly recommend, if you guys don't have a way in your practice to listen to your phone calls and record them, and to listen to your people's performance and to manage it and measure it, you're missing out on a huge, huge growth part of your business. You know, we started doing this for our business at Crystal Clear. We also do this for our 400 practices that we work with across 4 countries, and it has drastically changed the way that they manage their business. And because the people don't see this as micromanaging, it's seen as growth. Everybody wants to grow. They want to learn more, and it creates a culture of excitement rather than micromanagement. It creates a culture of you know, fast feedback, frequent feedback, accurate feedback, specific feedback from a team's perspective, and it's got to be timely. So if you have a way to listen to phone calls and in real time tweak that information and tweak how it is that somebody may have given false information over a phone call, it's not about having the ability to go in and club somebody, but if we care about our employees, we're going to care about what they're saying and how they handle the call, because that is the most important job. When you monitor the phone calls, you can monitor the results. That's what it's all about. Not about just listening to phone calls during the day. You want to know, did we get the result that we wanted? And another added benefit of actually monitoring and recording phone calls is that you can actually truly get a deep sense of what your customer wants. So the doctor, if he has a way to listen to phone calls is powerful because the doctor's not taking all the phone calls and probably doesn't have the time to do so. But if there was a question, if there was a concern, if there was a way that or a mechanism in place that you can understand what that patient wanted before they even walk into your doors, it's going to frame the follow-up phone call with them that much more effectively. You're going to be able to know exactly what the concerns were, how to handle it, what the next steps are, and how to best market them, and then just care for them overall. And defining specific goals for everyone in the organization and measuring it. So if you guys came up with a goal with the people on the phone and gave them incentive, that's powerful. You said, hey guys, if our practices convert at a 20 to 30% rate this month, everybody's going to get a gift or a special event that we're all going to go attend. Or if you convert between 30 to 45% this month on the phone, we're all going to go on a special trip as a staff, or take a day trip to, the escape room and have a fun activity, or give them a small little increase in their pay that month, or create some kind of incentive goal program that they get a little bit of pay for every single conversion that each rep creates and does. You got to be able to not only organize those results, but measure them so that you can actually give incentive and, give a pay according to the results. It's powerful stuff. It's how we motivate people. And ultimately, just don't put this off. If you have no measurement in place on how to monitor your phone calls, monitor the results, track the conversion rates on the phone, you need to start this now. This presentation is like, again, the New England Patriots. We're at the 50-yard line, like 2 minutes in the last fourth quarter, and we've got 2 or 3 touchdowns to score to win this game. Don't put this off. Align your people, put the leadership in place, the Bledsoes, the Edelmans, get them moving forward so that by January 1, you guys are ready to just go and do this thing. And here's the huge thing. There's so much fear associated with the phone, and then just in communication in general. The greatest fear is public speaking, but even more than that, when it comes to sales or, the process on the phone, just asking for the business really does help. That's the moment where vulnerability happens, right? I want to do business with every single one of you on this phone, and I know that I can do it really, really well. I know that I can bring you value. We've got to get to know each other. We've got to understand if I can meet the need, and you guys in the practice have to understand if you can meet the need to be patient, if they're a good fit for you, and they're learning to build trust with you and your practice. Have you done your part on showing them the credibility of your practice digitally, on your digital presence? And does that digital presence coincide and speak the same language of the incredible value that the people you have in that organization once that phone call happens? And then once the phone call happens and the consult is scheduled, they walk into a beautifully aesthetically pleasing location that has a nice smiling face right there at the front desk, and everything is consistent to the point of procedure complete. And then you ask, we'd love to do business with you. It's that simple, right? And do you believe that? Do you really believe that it's the people, processes, and tools? Do you really believe that it's the phone process that makes or breaks your marketing? Because it doesn't matter at all what I believe on this presentation. I could give you the best sales pitch or the worst sales pitch. It doesn't matter what I believe. The only thing that matters is what you believe, and then what you act on and what you put into place. If you really believe that the phone process is the most important part of your system and marketing, you will pay those people well, you will train them, and you'll do whatever necessary to make that conversion increase at the highest level. And work with a marketing company that believes that too, and be like-minded, because Crystal Clear put lots of money into training our people on the phones. And we believe it so much that this is the missing part of marketing, this is why marketing campaigns fail. We believe this. So at the end of the day, guys, this is all your practice success. It's all about your people, your processes, and tools. I hope everybody has a fantastic season and holiday and Christmas with your families and friends and with your practices, and I hope you enjoy this time. Questions are open, and I'd love to do that now, Inga.
Great. Thank you so much, Corey. Yes, once again, we do have a couple questions to get started, and if there's anything you wanted to ask, feel free to type those into the question bar on the right-hand side of your screen. One question is, when it comes to monitoring phone calls and training front desk in particular, how often should practices be monitoring or spot checking the phone calls? And then how often should the staff be trained or retrained?
Yeah, good question. Really, really great question. So, in terms of monitoring the phone calls, it seems like a two-part question. The first part of the question is, how often? At Crystal Clear, our doctors, we recommend every single day, because if you think about it, if your marketing's working well and you're getting anywhere between 100 to about 500 new web forms and phone calls to the practice because of your marketing, where do all those leads go? How are you tracking them? How are you managing them? How do you know where they're coming from and what they need. And so capturing phone calls should happen every single day, and you should have a way to actually get all of your web forms and your phone calls in one place so you can act on them. Because here's the thing: if you only convert, so if you get say 500 hits to your website, and those 500 hits turn into, let's say, 50 brand new forms and phone calls. Let's say you had 25 web forms filled out. People gave name, email, number to contact them, and a way to get back through web form. And then you had 25 phone calls. You have to have a way to track that. So you need a software in place or some kind of a mechanism in place or a tool that captures those phone calls, records them so you can listen to them in real time every single day and have a good handle on every single one of those brand new opportunities and not miss any of them. So every day, having a really good handle on that. We listen to our phone calls every single day. And then the second part of that question, which I don't want to miss, is, training your people. It should be monthly. I mean, sometimes, depending on the need and depending on how new they are, training could be daily. If they're a new hire, training on the phone is a daily thing. We have 30 training videos with Crystal Clear in our training modules that they can go through really quick in 30 days. They're 2 to 5 minute long video training modules, and it trains them every single day until they complete it and certify them in 30-day process if they do one per day. But they could spread that out. And but in terms of the phone training, it really should be, maybe monthly, weekly to monthly, I would say.
And when it comes to, setting goals for the employees, do you recommend doing individual rewards or doing group rewards as you set goals for, say, a department?
Yeah, both. Both are great because, if you have a sales team, we have a sales team. We have obviously individual sales quota and goals that we need to hit individually. I do, and every salesperson on planet Earth does. And then there's the collective team goal, which is, hey guys, once everybody hits our collective company goal, we're doing this as a team building event, or we're going to get this as a team, because we're not competing against each other for the King of the Hill trophy in our culture. Individual sales goals is great for the individual on their own level, and then collective goals as well. It creates an individual accountability, but still a collective culture of we're all in this together, and it's not about beating one or the other. It's about building this company together, and that's the vision.
And we had a question that came in about handling price questions on the phone. So someone was asking, how do we handle these without putting off the patient if somebody's looking for sort of a ballpark because they don't want to waste their time to come in for a consult if it's way out of their budget?
Awesome question. That's such a great question. And gosh, I get this at least every time. I'm in retail. We're all in retail. And the first thing that I get a lot of times, and I get tons of leads from all the conferences that we attend, and the first question is, well, hey guys, how much do you charge? Literally before I even have said my name and talked about the value that we provide. And so one of the ways to get over that objection while not being mean and rude is to basically, so I'll make a little joke. I say on the phone, I'll literally say, wow, did you just ask me to marry you on the first date? And I get it, we're in retail, so they want to know the price to make their decision. But you want to just kindly and guidely just say, here at the practice, our process is, we want to make sure that you can really make a good decision based on facts, and rather than just pricing, and because that's the easy part. The easy part is price. And we want to understand your need. We want you to understand our value. So before we give price, our process is that you go through a full presentation or consultation first. Would you be willing and open to do that with me? Pretty simple, right? So it shows value selling or value presentation versus price selling first. And I hope that clarified. I could do a whole presentation on that. That would be great.
Great. And that actually covered the questions we have right now, but I wanted to remind everyone that Corey's email is up here on the screen, so you can certainly contact him if you have any further questions. You can also reach out to us here at MedEsthetics Magazine. And for anyone that wants to share this presentation or review the information, this will be up on the MedEstheticsMag.com website within the next couple of days. And so I wish you all a very happy holidays and a happy new year. And I thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Corey, for this great presentation.
Hey, thank you so much, guys. Look forward to talking to you soon.